I know you missed me, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Sports Rants with Abby and friends. Of course, I'm Abby. We got Guy, we got Sean, we got a full house, and we are excited that you are here. Guy, don't already start with the Finn stuff, okay? Ruining my intro.
It's all right.
Before we get into it, Guy, how was Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving was good. Food, family, football. Couldn't ask for more.
And you went to the Miami game. How was that?
Yeah, took a trip down to South Florida, for the weekend, and was entertained. We pulled out a win. It was wet. It was nice, in certain spots, but hey, it was my first time going to a home game in Miami, and couldn't be happier.
That was your first time?
Yep. All the other times were up here in Jersey.
Oh my goodness. What a special little moment. And a win. Now you're going to keep track of how many wins, when you go to MetLife, when I go to MetLife, I'm always like, did the Jets win? Right now they're 1-1 because I've only been to 2. No, there's 0-2.
Oh.
No, 1-1. No, they're 1-1. They're 1-1. The one I went to after New Year's or whatever. So, well, at least you're on a win streak there. Sean, how was Thanksgiving?
It was good. I just hung out at the house. My fiance works, so it's my first holiday off in 3 years. I got up all the holidays, so I didn't do anything. I just watched football all day long from 1 o'clock until the last minute of the last game. Just football.
I know that was I wish I could say the Thursday games were a little bit more of a treat, but just some very interesting things there, and we'll get into it. And all of our teams won this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what a special moment. Well, I had a good Thanksgiving as well. Missed you guys last week. Thank you for holding it down. Guy, before you got on, I was talking with Dren and telling him, I saw a little bit of the show in the beginning, and I could see how you were transitioning and using some of the things I do and say. And I was like, I taught them well.
Yeah. Got to pick some things up, right?
Yeah. So, all right, let's start really quickly with NFL. We got a lot of things to cover today, so we'll get through this as quickly as possible. Appreciate you all joining us. Please like and subscribe to the Pop Sports Network. Appreciate you being here. All right, so let's talk about some of the past games this weekend. Sean, we'll go ahead and start with your game, the Seahawks. Not much of a game, to say the least, but any general observations? Of course, you were happy at the end of the day.
Yeah, our offense sucked. That was a general observation I had. But, our defense is so good. We did what I wanted us to do. That's our first shutout in 10 years, by the way. It's our first game where we've shut out another team in 10 years. And, we just feasted on Brosmer. Reek had that interception where he tried to run it back across the field and fumbled it and gave it right back. So that was funny. But I was just all around happy. Like I said last week, these top teams, they need to beat the brakes off of the bad teams and show, we're coming off a tough loss. And we came out 2 weeks in a row and we've, smoked both the teams that we played, both really bad teams, right? Tennessee. And I don't think Minnesota is a bad team. I just think they have bad quarterback play. But just all around happy with that one.
Yeah, I think we weren't surprised by how that outcome was going to go. And that was just a tough situation for their quarterback to be in. And that was against that Seattle defense. We already expected some
top
of that
two
to
defense
happen.
in the league, right? Not a good time as an undrafted rookie, everyone's like, oh, well, we don't have film on him. And, second string quarterbacks are the reapers of the Seahawks, right? They just come in and tear us up a lot of the times. But I think we showed this game specifically that we're a step up of where we've been over the past few years, which is really nice to see. Mm-hmm. And, now we control our own destiny with a game we'll talk about later with the Rams losing. That division's wide open. We play them again. So we can, the Niners look great too. So I'm not going to count them out by any means. And I haven't counted them out on any time we've talked about them, but that was nice to equalize there a little bit.
Right. And we'll definitely get into that game later because huge upset. I don't think anyone saw that coming. No. So, Guy, obviously at the game, were you sweating a little bit?
Only because it was humid out there. But no, look, we outplayed them most of the game. It was just Tua didn't look great as usual. Our defense kind of, played well for like 3 quarters, until, you don't capitalize on like mistakes and you just settle for field goals. You let a team like that in the ball game, and on another day you might get upset in those games. So thankfully, Ashan does what he does and just dominates. And Minka Fitzpatrick came through with what looked like a game-saving 2-point conversion. Pick two, and that was kind of like the difference in the game. But I think we outplayed the Saints. It was kind of a wet and messy game at times, but Tua didn't look that great. Just seeing him live again, which I think I should be entitled for some type of compensation for having to watch him, but it's painful to say the least. But thankfully, and I thought this earlier in the year. I didn't think we were as bad as we were in the beginning, and I thought that we would string along some wins to be about a 500 team, which what we've been for a long time, mediocre, and something has to change somewhere. But it was a great experience, and we won, so I can't be too upset.
How was the crowd at the game? I'm always interested.
Very, very good. There was some Saints fans. They're pretty close proximity compared to other NFL cities, so they had a nice contingent, but it was mostly Dolphins fans, and they were kind of very vocal and live, which was great.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, there wasn't that great of attendance at the Jets game, which is surprising because they finally win. I'm not gonna lie, not cold. That game looked horrible. I mean, weather was awful. It was muggy. It was not muggy. It was just gloomy all day. And the fans, I mean, shout out to you guys. Y'all are real ones. But Jets came, not saying the Jets, it was a pretty game. It was an ugly win, but a win nonetheless. And I will take it. Bijan just ran all over us. I mean, he could not be stopped. Kyle Pitts could not be stopped. Jet special teams, shout out to you. I've shouted them out in my video and this week and in previous weeks. Jet special teams unit saving our ass yet again. And Nick Folk, the GOAT, kicking a game-winning field goal. So very excited for him. So let's get into okay, Sean, we'll start with the Rams-Panthers game because I know you feel probably super passionate about those. And then maybe, Guy, you pick a game you want to talk about, and then I'll pick one. So Sean, overall thoughts on the Rams-Panthers game?
That was a really good game. I will say that. Devontae continues to do Devontae Adams things. I mean, guy probably has to have the most under 5-yard touchdowns I've ever seen out of anybody in a season. I think he had, 2 this game, 1 for 4 yards, 1 for 1 yard. Kieran got hurt for a little bit. Corum came out there, and Corum looked like the guy he did in college. That's a really positive thing for them. Not saying they necessarily have a 1-2 punch, but they pretty much do at this point because they seem to be utilizing their backfield a bit more like we utilize ours, with Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker, with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. Like they're establishing that they're going to use 2 guys. And Bryce Young, I don't know how to feel about him anymore because he looks – I wouldn't say elite, but he looks really good sometimes. In other games, you're like, how did this guy make it to the NFL? And, fortunately for him, this is one of those games where he looked really good. 15 for 20, 3 touchdowns, that dime that he threw to Tet. Fantastic pass, fantastic catch. Chuba got way more involved. I know, if you're a fantasy owner for Rico and Chuba, you're at the point where you're like, Rico looked like that guy, and he has not looked good the last couple of weeks. And, Chuba ripped off a 35-yard receiving touchdown, and then he had, 17 carries for 83 yards. I think Rico had 18 for 60 or something. I don't have it pulled up, but and then I think Stafford, he was 20 or 38 passes consecutive, touchdown passes without an interception. They posted about it online, and he throws 2 back-to-back. I think he hurt his MVP case a little bit. I still think the Rams are the best team in the NFL. I don't think that takes away anything from them. They just had a really rough game. And, if this is the type of game it takes to beat them, that's good for the Rams. Again, it took 4 interceptions and our team to look horrible for them to beat us too. So, maybe they're showing some cracks in the armor a little bit, but they're just elite all around. So big win for Carolina to keep themselves in that division. They're over 500 at 7-6. The Bucs look horrible. Good news for them, though, is that Evans looks like he's coming back either next week or the week after. So they have some stuff to play for, but that division got a lot crazier. And, Guy and I touched on it. And I did say if Carolina won this game last week that we would – and, I was saying that as a Seattle fan, right? Like, oh, yeah, if Carolina beats the Rams, woo, beat them. And then, every other game that we talked about in the other divisions that we'll talk about next week all came out. So the NFL is, with this and a couple of the games, it's looking really, really interesting to close the year.
And if I'm correct, the Bucs haven't played the Panthers yet. I still think they got to play them twice.
Correct. And that's like the Colts too, right? The Colts have to play Houston twice, who look like arguably one of the best teams in the NFL currently. And I'm sure we'll touch on them later, but I was glazing them all up and down with Guy last week. And I said that they had a chance to win that game, and, they came out and won, and I was happy for that. But yeah, there's some good looking teams that are blooming right at the right time, with a lot of tough games coming up. So,
right. Let me ask you guys, Guy, before I get into your thoughts on the Rams game. Did you guys win fantasy this week?
Yeah.
Yep.
I actually clinched playoffs in my league this week. I'm playing for a bye, which with my draft, I thought my team was dog shit when I drafted. Honestly, I got thrown into, we have a big money league at the Boathouse that they do. And I got kind of thrown in, which I wanted to join the league, but I got like the 7th pick, which I didn't do any studying on it. I'm a big statistics and analytics guy with that stuff. And I hated my team. I just clinched at least a top 3 seed, and I have a chance to knock out Tyson, who was a big advocate of not wanting me in that league in general. So I just can't. And I have McCaffrey and Kittle on bye this week, and I'm still projected to beat him. I own J-Mo, so I'm happy with the Amon-Ra injury because I own J-Mo, and I mean, we're not going to talk about the Lions game probably, but I mean, J-Mo looked like a wide receiver 1, like a legitimate wide receiver 1. So, and I have Josh Allen playing the Bengals this week. I can't wait for that.
Right. Guy, you won this week as well?
Yeah, but 0.24 points.
A win's a win.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
A win's a win.
And it was because of the Broncos defense that laid an egg for me.
I had Broncos defense, but I also had RJ Harvey. So, yeah.
So my 5-game win streak came to an end, unfortunately, and I got demolished by. I mean, he's been first all season.
You have Jonathan Taylor and co.
I'll see who he has right now. I forgot, but it's because I have Tyler Loop, and I had Zay Flowers in, so that should just kind of say enough. I had negative 0.4 points and 2 points. Rasheed Rice got me 25, and I was like, I'm in great shape,
But you have Allen too, right?
Yep. Yeah. And then I had Chuba on the bench. I'm just watching on my bench.
I mean, but honestly, don't blame you. I don't think he was a startable player, so you can't feel bad about it.
Right. And then JSN did a whole lot of nothing, but they really didn't need to. So, but I think I'm still in the playoffs because 3 people already clinched. 4 are eliminated, and I'm just in the middle of the pack. So I think it's more about seeding right now. So the guy I'm playing this week, I'm projected to win, but I have Chuba because the Panthers are on a bye.
Yeah, Panthers.
And who else is on a bye?
Giants, right?
Patriots.
No, Patriots. Sorry.
Yeah, and so I have Henderson. I have to put Henderson on the bench this week. So right now, my running back room looking. I'm hoping 2 in can.
It's the Patriots, Giants, Niners, and Panthers on bye this week. Yep.
Yeah. So it's basically.
Tua's been decent though. At least if he can hawk you a touchdown, that's a solid. You'll get 9.
Yeah, Jags play Indy this week though, so that's why I'm a little nervous. But we'll see how that shapes up. So, Guy, back to the Rams-Panthers game. Any additional thoughts?
Yeah, it just goes to show you, man, that any given Sunday and that NFC West NFC South, the NFC in general is wide open. Even though I agree with Sean that the Rams are still like the best team in the NFC, but things are getting very interesting if they have to go through like a Chicago, if the path goes through Chicago instead of indoors, that opens a whole range of possibilities. And weather becomes a factor, which is always interesting.
Yeah, and apparently you think Miami is going to come up to MetLife in the freezing cold and kick their ass this week, don't you?
I mean, it's not an impossible thing. Like, it's not like we got to play, the Patriots or the Bills. It's the Jets. We can beat the Jets.
You barely beat the Saints. Chill.
Wait, you guys beat the Saints this year or no?
We haven't played them yet.
Oh, not yet. Okay.
Coming.
All right. You guys might not beat them.
We have to play them away, though, okay? It's a hard little dome to play in.
Oh, you already got the excuse lined up. Okay.
And Tet looks great. I love you guys already know I love Tet McMillan so much. And Bryce Young I know you have fun when you're winning games, but he just looks so much more comfortable than he did. Like the shift of him from the beginning to where he is now, he just looks a lot more like comfortable. And at the end of the day, like he looks like he's actually having fun, even when placed in like kind of some difficult positions, I feel like. So,
but this happened last year with him too. He looked horrible to start the year, and like he finished the year looking like, a top 15 quarterback all of a sudden. So maybe he just needs time to ramp up, but you can't do that every year. You put yourself in a hole.
All right, Guy, any particular game you want to discuss?
I mean, I could go in a couple of different directions, but I have to, give this team their props. I want to speak about the Chicago Bears handling business and going to Philly and beating Philly, which is not the easiest thing in the world, but, they gutted out a really good win. And, they keep proving to me that they're legit, at least in the NFC landscape, that they're going to be a tough out. And if they are able to get home field advantage, that's going to be something. Some of these teams are, and I mean the Rams specifically. I don't know how they're going to do, with their high-powered passing attack, having to go to Soldier Field and throwing the ball all around. I don't know how that's going to work on a snowy day, if that comes to that. But kudos to the Bears taking advantage of an Eagles team that is just spiraling before our eyes, right? Like, I know the Eagles definitely have talent. That's not the problem here. Something is going on behind the scenes. Something has to be going on in the locker room or mentally with a lot of these players. They're not in sync. And, they've shown this throughout the season of their limitations, right? Can they turn it around? Of course they can. But I don't know. Like this was a prove it game at home, and their offense looked pedestrian again. You can't run the ball. Hurts is hit or miss. So, certain weeks he looks like he's back on track, and then, the training wheels come back on, and I don't know what to think of the Eagles right now. They're a mystery to me, but I wouldn't be surprised if they turned it around at some point, but it's getting late early in Philly, and, the rest of the NFC is for real.
Right. Sean, anything to add?
No, I think I've been vocal about thinking the Eagles are frauds every single week. And me and Guy talked about it last week. I thought the Bears were going to win last week, and I stood on business on that. I said this is a fraud off. I said in our group chat, I'm starting to believe in the Bears a little bit more. I watched the whole game, and that run game is crazy. I mean, they had 250 rush yards in like the third quarter. I was like, Jesus Christ. Like every time I looked up, they were getting gashed for a big play. And I think that Caleb isn't an elite quarterback. He just does enough to he reminds me a lot of like Brock Purdy almost. Like he just doesn't make mistakes, but he's not going to throw you an elite deep ball. He's going to throw the quick out routes, the quick slants. and he's got the weapons to do it, right? So that's what matters. And it sucks that he doesn't have a good deep ball because you have DJ Moore and Luther Burden who are insane downfield receivers. So if he could get better at that, I mean, that offense, they'd be a legit Super Bowl contender to me. I still don't think they're a Super Bowl contender, and they have a really hard end of the year schedule. They have to play the Packers twice, the Niners, the Lions, and the Browns. And I know the Browns suck ass, but that's still never an easy game. So they have a lot of tough games, but they're winning, and that's what matters for that team in that division, which is a really tough division, right? And in the NFC in general, for them to be the number 1 seed, I don't think anybody here thought that would be a reality. So, here we are.
Right. And then, Sean, I'm going to let you pick the third game we talk about because I don't feel particularly strongly about any of the other games this week besides mine. Probably because, again, the New York Jets hardly win, so I'm just strictly focused on that. But, hey, a win doesn't come very often. It's only come 3 times.
Yeah. I'd love to talk about the Houston game, but I think the game we have to talk about is that Denver game, right?
Oh.
That was an insane game. I don't know why, and I feel like this is another thing I say all the time, is Denver plays down to whoever they're playing or plays up to whoever they're playing. They can't keep getting away with this. They are winning games by 1 point every single week or making these crazy ass comebacks. Bo Nix, and I love Bo Nix. I'm a big Oregon guy. I want him to do well, but I don't get why that passing attack. I mean, and he threw for 300 yards, right? He threw for a lot of yards, but if you actually watch the game, it didn't ever feel like there was any rhythm going. RJ Harvey looked awesome. I was really happy with how he looked, how he was getting the goal line work. That was a concern of a lot of people coming in is, are they going to lean on McLaughlin? He had 56% of the snap share, so he's not that true workhorse back. But, then on the other side, McLaurin had a monster game. Zach Ertz, 10 receptions, 100 yards. Mariota, happy Wednesday to Wu-Tang over here. Shout out Wu-Tang. But Mariota, another Oregon guy, 2 Oregon guys going at it in this game, and throws the ball 50 times, throws for 290 or 294. And honestly, they probably should have won that game. They screamed Bonito, and if he had lobbed that ball a little bit more, I forgot who he threw it to, but they were wide open. He would have walked it in. Mariota goes for 10. He leads the team in rushing, and I think that's Washington's big problem is they don't have any running backs. I don't know why they traded Brian Robinson to start the year. It made no sense in general. But they stuck in this game, and I thought this game was going to be a mollywhopping. I thought Denver – this is another one where it's the better team. Denver should have came in here and beat Washington's ass, right? And they did not do anything. They should have lost that game in reality.
My coworker is a Denver fan, and I was like, bro, your team is a fraud. They are the biggest frauds. He's just making that face, Oh, and then I had Sutton on the bench, and now you want to do something in fantasy. You pissed me off.
And I think Guy and I talked about this last week as well. Is what Denver has going on this year is very reminiscent of what the Chiefs had going on last year, where they're winning all of these crazy 1-score games, and everything evens out, right? Denver next year will probably have the same records as the Chiefs if they play like this, right? The Chiefs are 6-6 or whatever they are. This will probably happen in Denver next year, because you can't statistically win all of these 1-score games. They can't come back and put up 26 points in the fourth quarter against the Giants every year. That's just not a realistic thing, right? And obviously, Denver is one of the best fourth quarter teams in the NFL, but this is not going to be sustainable at all.
Guy, I'm sure you're in agreement.
Oh, yeah. And, if we want to take Denver seriously, this is a nationally televised game at a very winnable game where you need to assert yourself and say, look, we're big players in the AFC, and you kind of fell flat. And to Sean's point, I think the Commanders deserved a better result, even though they lost by 1. They played fearless. I think Denver's offense lacks cohesion. Like I see Bo Nix rolling out a lot and just, holding on to the ball a little bit too much. Like I would like if they actually involve Sutton a little more in the offense, and insert that passing attack. I know he got Evan Ingram involved a lot, which is good for him. Tight end's going to help him a lot, but it just, yeah, he passed for 300 yards, but it didn't look like it, like it looked, a lot of things look forced, or things just didn't look cohesive throughout the whole time. It looked like he was like kind of struggling to get that QB rhythm, like the great quarterbacks have when they're on a roll, right? Like when you see it. It was just a hard day. I guess sometimes you're going to have these ugly games, but they're making it a pattern, and you can't have that in the playoffs. So they better hope that they get home field advantage at least, because I don't see them traveling well, trying to get a win somewhere where they play this style, and you need your offense to get you a score or stop. That the Commanders came back at the end. Like the defense was on their heels. They couldn't handle Mariota's running. A mobile quarterback, which is a little bit alarming. I don't know if it was stupid penalties that happened, which did happen, but yeah, I don't trust the Denver Broncos, and that's what I have to say about that.
And I agree with everything both of you two said. I was actually looking at Mariota a lot more because he's again, too early, but he's a free agent. The Jets are at a weird spot. Are you going to need are you going to go trade up and get a quarterback? You're going to sign a free agent. And so I threw that name out there in the chat earlier today.
There's a lot of quarterback stuff.
Like
imagine like a Mariota, or like completely off topic, but like imagine one of these elite backups, right? Like they're not good enough to be NFL starters, right? But they're really good backups. Brissett. Mm-hmm. Imagine if the Vikings had any comparable backup.
Right.
So like me and Guy got off like a 20-minute tangent about the Vikings last week, but it just makes no sense to me how a team that talented has no like quarterback or backup quarterback. Obviously they had the chance to re-sign Darnold or whatever it was, and you want to make the argument. And obviously Darnold looks great with us, but man, a lot of these backups, like Mac Jones, he's going to get traded somewhere. These guys are going to get paid somewhere just because they're good enough, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, and they're doing their job. They come in for those few games we expect to win, and then it goes back to like how it went back to Purdy. That's quite frankly their only job. They don't have to do much either. You know what I mean? Because they're surrounded by talent. We got a lot going on in the comments. Appreciate you all being here. We got Sean's favorite guy.
Oh, Star Spangled's here. Shout out my biggest fan over there. Hey, he can't talk shit to me this week. Every other week you can, but not this week, buddy. How about that?
We got Guy's biggest fan, Johnny Boy, in the comments. Squish the fish. Let him know.
Oh,
and Gene, you cannot come back. You're over there on your ship now, your little pirate ship with the Bucs.
Yeah, he's a Bucs fan.
You cannot come back now. And then we got Shaq in here. The QB room in this upcoming draft is shaky when the Heisman Trophy race is super mid this college football season.
Yeah, we've touched on that before. We don't like the quarterbacks. The thing, all the quarterbacks coming out of college this year are second-round picks most other years.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Gene's team really quickly. We got Evans back at practice. I think it's perfect timing considering the position that they're in now. Any additional thoughts?
He was on waivers in my league, and I know some people in the Tampa camp, so I kind of got wind of it, and I snagged him on like before the game started last week because I kind of heard rumblings of him coming back possibly this week, but they didn't know if he'd be medically cleared, which he did get medically cleared. He did a walkthrough today, and he's doing a full practice tomorrow, so he might even be back this week. But man, do they need him in a big way? Because I mean, Egbuka's great. I think Egbuka's a fantastic receiver. Egbuka looks significantly better when Evans was on the field because Egbuka getting clamped and, them spying him and double teaming him. He's not a separation receiver. So to have Mike Evans on the field to get double teamed, and they need that big bodied end zone receiver. I mean, Evans is a monster, right? 6'3", 240, 230, whatever he is. They're going to need him for this. As we touched on with the Panthers, right? Like the Panthers are not going away. They got a big push to end the year, and they play the Panthers twice, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
you're going to need him in both of those games.
I swear it's like twice within like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Guy, any other thoughts?
Yeah, I think the Buccaneers definitely need this addition. That NFC South got very interesting, and it's all hands on deck at this point, because it could be a thing where the Panthers steal this division from them. They keep playing like they do. The Panthers have a lot of heart and they punch above their weight, and I can't wait for those two matchups, man. That's going to be exciting football.
Right. I do want to talk about one more team and one more game. That Monday Night Football game. You know what? Thank God that kick did not happen to the New York Jets, because we're still talking about butt fumble, but I could not believe that happened. And the reason I want to bring up that game is I want to talk a little bit about Abdul Carter, who's had several issues with the Giants so far. First game, I think he was benched for the first drive, if I'm correct.
Mm-hmm.
This one was at the first quarter.
It's the first drive, I think, as well.
First drive again. Then it's going to be the first half, and then it's going to be a game. No, I'm just playing. But
it's been because of attendance issues. Like, I don't get, and again, this is stuff like that we've been talking about, and I don't get it. Me and Guy were talking about Brandon Ayuk last week, and this is like in the same thing to me. Like, you're getting paid millions of dollars to do a job that you should love, right? Like, and not all football players love football, right? Like, a lot of them have to do it to get out of, their problems, and then they just happen to be really good at it, right? Like, there's obviously cases, but I would say most NFL players love football, right? For the most part. Why can't you just show up to a meeting? You're getting paid, what, 14? I mean, he was a top 5 pick, so he's got to be getting paid like $10 to $14 million a year, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just don't get any of these guys, like how they're getting paid so much money and they can't just do their job at the bare minimum. That's all I have to say about it, but it's just very frustrating seeing this become like a recurring thing for these younger kids.
Well, if I'm correct too, didn't he already have issues coming out of Penn State as well? It's almost like that sense of entitledness almost as like rubbing off. And honestly, sometimes the newer generation, no disrespect to like Gen Z or whatever, but they got like little habits like that, I want to say. And it translates into the workplace. And obviously he's on a bigger platform than the most of us, which is why I feel like it shows up more. But Guy, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, when you're an adult, the things that you can control is your attitude and your effort. As cliche as that sounds, but the least you can do is show up on time. I mean, that's bare minimum. We're not asking for a lot here, right? The Giants, obviously used a first round pick on this guy, because he's talented. Sometimes that talent comes with baggage. But, it's not like that situation has been great because of coach being fired, a lot of, front office stuff. That team lacks direction right now. I think if they had a stronger leadership in that locker room, he could probably get reeled in. But he is still a young guy, but that unprofessionalism is unacceptable. And, he's going to have to break those bad habits if he wants to stick around.
And speaking of young players, because that comment just came through, Jackson Dart, I'm sure we all saw the hit going out of the
and that's another thing we talked about. Like, he needs to just get out of bounds.
Yeah.
The extra yard doesn't matter. I mean, he literally looked like one of those rag dolls from the memes that like they throw him in the air. That's what he looked like. I mean, he got literally sent him to orbit, and it was a legal hit. It wasn't an illegal hit. I mean, he literally was trying to do where he stayed in bounds and eked out an extra yard or two. And he takes way too many unnecessary hits. I think Jackson Dart is a phenomenal player. His career is not going to be long if he keeps doing this. He's
Right.
gonna get it's gonna get to the point where he's gonna be like Tua with the concussions, but like he's just a bruiser. And good Lord, I mean, that was the most unnecessary. I literally watched that video 10 times laughing because I'm like, this is the most Jackson Dart play that like of the whole game. This is literally him in a nutshell, just getting leveled for no reason.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right, let's get into some. I don't know if we have the banners for the spreads, but I want to go through this like as quickly as possible because I know we got NFL and MLB stuff to cover. So let's start with tomorrow's game. We got Dallas at Detroit. Detroit by 3, over under 54.5.
Yeah, whatever the over is, slam it, by the way. That's the only thing I'm going to say about this game is whatever the over is, slam your bank account on it.
100%. And I'm actually going to go with the Cowboys here. I think they're a hot team. You know, that offense is clicking. It's humming. You know, they won a pretty, you know, important game on Thanksgiving. You know, I know we didn't speak on it, but them beating the Chiefs, who we expected to make this run, they kind of put a stop to that, at least for this week. And, you know, don't look now. The Cowboys are starting to creep up on the Eagles. You know, if the Eagles keep tail spinning, I think this is a great opportunity for the Cowboys to get another win. The Lions aren't as good as they were last year. I mean, that's point blank period. So I think the Cowboys go into Detroit and take this one.
Sean?
Yeah, I think the Dallas is one of those teams that I was talking about blooming at the right time. I do think that the Lions probably win this game, though. This is going to be a very high scoring game. Dallas's problem is even if you win this game, the tie is going to really, for lack of better words, fuck them over because the Eagles have such an easy schedule in the year. Dallas has to win every game because it looks like, you know, 4 out of the next 5 games, the Eagles are probably realistically are going to be heavy favorites in. You know, Raiders, Commanders twice, and Chargers that have nobody healthy. But George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb look almost unguardable at times, and Dak finally looks like the Dak that we see every other year. Like you get 1 year where Dak looks like he's Helen Keller out there throwing blind footballs, and then the next year he looks like, you know, prime Peyton Manning. So I don't know really know what to expect about this game, except it's going to be really high scoring. And I think like that line of like 3 points, it's probably going to be like a line of 7 because I think it's going to come down to whoever scores the last touchdown. But I'm actually really excited to watch this game because this is going to be a barn burner.
Right. And I'm going to go with Dallas on this one. All right. Miami is headed to MetLife Stadium to face the New York Jets. Miami, 2.5. I'm going to start with you, Sean, first.
Let me answer Shaq's question because he asked me who's more fraudulent now, the Bears or the Lions. It's definitely still the Bears because, like, we all expected the Lions to be good. Like, no one expected them to be bad, and then they're good all of a sudden. The Lions have had a lot of injuries to their offensive line, which has not helped. And Frank Ragnar retiring, you know, in the offseason when you're not planning for that. You know, obviously he tried to come back, but he failed his physical. So I think the Bears are a better team currently, but I think that the Lions, they can't be considered frauds because, you know, no one expected them to be bad and they're good or, you know. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, sorry, I didn't want to go off topic, but, yeah, this is game of the week. I got the Jets.
This should be on prime time.
I said the Jets. I got the Dolphins. Sorry. I think that the Jets have looked better, but I think anytime Devon Achane is on the field against like a lesser team, it's going to be the Devon Achane show. And it's like, if you can get another game like that out of AD Mitchell, who I picked up on fantasy, like the waiver wires, like I think he looked great. And he's finally, you know, the complaint about him was he's dropping balls, right? He's getting the targets. He's getting the separation. He's not an elite receiver. That's a very broad. He's an above average receiver, like metrics wise. He just drops the ball. And he didn't do that this week. If he can continue to do that and continue to elevate his game, I think Tyrod Taylor is a significantly better passer, so it's a better situation for him. But the Dolphins, like, we can all agree, like, the Dolphins are a better team. I know you're a Jets fan, but, like, I think we can all agree, like, who's the better team here? It's just both of these teams kind of suck this year at the end of the day.
I don't co-sign on anything you just said, but Guy, let me guess, who are you picking?
Oh, the Finns all day. And not just because I'm a Dolphins fan. I think they're the better team. I think Waller coming back kind of helps Tua a little bit. He did come back the game last week. So, without Tyreek Hill, we need all the able receivers we can get. And he's definitely a game changer if he's healthy and could spread the field, especially the middle of the field. I think is going to be where Tua is going to look to throw the ball. Like Sean said, I think Achane has a big game in this game, and the Dolphins' defense as of late has been pretty good. They haven't been great or world beaters, but they're opportunistic and they can cause turnovers. I just don't see the Jets winning, but I think it's going to be a close game.
Well, I'm going to say, fuck the fans, squish the fish. That's All righty. Moving on. Seattle heads to Atlanta. Seattle by 7. Sean.
I mean, if y'all can beat them, surely we can beat them, right? Like,
Right.
I mean,
Anything
Jesus,
is possible.
anything's possible, right? I mean, yeah, I think this is this should be a very easy win for us in theory, right? I mean, the Falcons, and I'll keep saying it, they're a talented team, top to bottom. Drake London hasn't practiced this week, might be back. I don't think he will be though. I love our chances whenever Kirk Cousins is back there. I mean, our front four can get to any quarterback. Our secondary, look we did to Brosmer. I think Kirk Cousins isn't as bad as Brosmer, but he's not the quarterback he used to be. And I think that we had a really bad offensive game last week. I think that we kind of looked to turn that around. I'm hoping we can put up like 28 points on offense and maybe a couple, a turnover or two. We can bring that to the house. It is what it is. But I think JSN probably goes for like 180 this game. And the Falcons defense isn't bad. Don't get me wrong. They have a relatively decent defense. It's just, I think Seattle's on a whole different level this year compared to like the middle of the pack teams where I feel like we used to struggle with them. But I do think this game is an over game just because I think Atlanta's still going to put up some points.
Guy?
Yeah, I got the Seahawks in this one. I think their defense the defense is going to impose their will, cause a few turnovers, and probably get a few sacks. I think it's going to be a long day for Kirk Cousins.
And I'm with Shaq over here. Jets win another tight one. Seahawks easy money. All righty. We got New Orleans headed over to Tampa Bay. That's a big spread of 8.5.
Which I don't think this is like a fair spread either. I want to hear y'all's opinions. Like, we've been talking about these high spreads. Like, I'd love to know your thoughts on this because we were talking about like the big spreads last week and how we thought they were a little crazy. I'd love to know what you think about this 8.5.
Yeah, I think it's actually a little high. I don't know if because it's a divisional game. The Bucs have been injured. The Cardinals, are what they are. They're a little bit better than the Saints, but yeah, I mean, I think that the Tampa Bay can win by like a touchdown. I think that I could see that, but I think the Saints are gonna play hard in this game. This is a divisional game. They got 2 wins. It's not like they're playing for anything here, but pride and auditioning some of the young guys, I guess. But yeah, I think the Bucs win the game, but they don't cover this 8.5.
And I'm with you, Sean.
Yeah, it's just weird because I think the Bucs get like a lot of their players back this week, right? I think they get Jamel Dean back. They get the guy they got from the Jets. Why can't I ever think of his name?
Which one?
The defensive player. He was
Eccles?
controversial. No.
Oh,
Hold on. I gotta go look before we move on. Sorry, this is gonna irk me. Can't ever think of his name. Hassan Reddick. Sorry.
man, I think of him. When I think of him, I think of the damn Eagles still because he was so fucking irrelevant.
But I think they get Hassan Reddick back. I think they get Jamel Dean back. But again, it's like those players that are coming back from injuries. Like it's kind of hard to tell. I know that McMillan's practicing. Mike Evans is practicing. We don't know if those guys are going to be back. But like if they're healthy, like Tampa Bay, we all know Tampa Bay is a significantly better team. We just don't know what kind of Tampa Bay we're going to get. And I think that this spread is really going to come down to whether who's playing or not. If their defense is in full force, Tampa Bay covers the 8.5 pretty easily. And I think this game probably goes over. New Orleans has looked better as of late. New Orleans is not some super like elite team, but they've been competitive again in that division, as Shaq just said. So they can keep it close, but I think that like when the Bucs are fully healthy with their whole roster, they're a Super Bowl level team. And I can easily see them absolutely spanking the Saints, but who knows who's actually playing until we get that injury report.
Right. All right. Moving on to the game of the week. The Washington Commanders at the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota, 2.5.
No. I take the Commanders money line, especially with how they just looked against the Broncos. They're getting healthier. You might have Jaden back this week, most likely not. But even if you don't, Mariota's look competent. You're getting your receivers back. McLaurin looked great on like 50 or 60% snap share. I mean, or snap count rather. And no one's until the Vikings can get a quarterback, no one's going to convince me that they have a chance at winning games. And I think I own Addison. I'm playing him this week simply because it's Washington, right? Like, I feel like you kind of have to play him. But like Jettas and Addison, if you have any other receivers that you can play over them, I think they're benchable. It's been horrible this year. McCarthy's looked horrible. Rosmer. I mean, I feel bad for the guy because like if they had started him this game, you know what I mean? Like I feel like this would have been a better test. You're putting him against like a top 2 defense in the league, and that's your first start. That's a really tough start. But I just feel like with the weapons that the Vikings offense has, they just don't make any sense.
It's funny when, I told you I had an auction draft for like fantasy, and I just had a feeling with like when Jay Jettas came up like on the board, I was like, I don't know about their quarterback. We haven't seen him. We don't know anything about him. And that was like, and he went for like $70. That's what I'm telling you. People use $70 of their $200 budgets for this one player who hasn't been producing anything. Because again, the quarterback play.
I'm sure they did the same thing with Barkley this year too, who I wasn't high on him either. I was fading him all year too. It's like these players that are not in good circumstances, they can be elite all they want. Jefferson's looked quarterback proof for years, but like you can only be so quarterback proof. Like at least he had pocket passers, McCarthy didn't do anything at the college level. I don't know how he shot up to the 10th overall pick. I still don't understand. He should have been like a 3rd round project pick. He should not been a franchise quarterback. So I mean, could you imagine, like, for example, like put Bo Nix in this offense, who went in the same draft a little bit later. He would look significantly. I mean, they'd at least have competent, I don't know. It's just an odd situation.
I'm with you. I'm taking the Commanders. Guy?
Yeah, I'm picking the Commanders. I think lately they've actually been pretty competitive, and they've been getting healthier. I think, Minnesota is usually a tough place to get wins, but with that quarterback play, I think the Commanders go in there and get this win.
All right. Moving on to what is going to be hopefully a good game. We got the Colts heading over to Jacksonville.
This is my game of the week here.
Indy, 2.5.
I think Jacksonville wins this game first off. I'm just going to put that out there. And it's crazy because I think Jacksonville and Indy play twice. They still have to play twice. Jacksonville is winning this division now, by the way. They're in first place. This is one of those divisions where we've talked about, and I said, Indy had their chance. I mean, I actually think Houston's the best team in this division, right? Like, to me, Houston's the best team, but Jacksonville just looked better. Like, they're getting the job done almost kind of thing. I don't think Jacksonville is the better team. This team, they have like a really good defense, and their offense gets by. And that Daniel Jones injury, he looked horrible last week. He did not look mobile. He did not look comfortable in the pocket. Jonathan Taylor is really like fallen off a cliff almost. And like the last 2 weeks, it's been like Alec Pierce is their best weapon, essentially.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a crazy game because if Indy loses and Houston wins, Houston's now second in the division. And I actually, we'll talk about Houston, I'm sure. I think Houston will end up winning this division just because I think they're the best team in this division. But Jacksonville's been winning games, and the Colts have been on a really like steep downtrend. And, as Shaq said, the Colts haven't won in Jacksonville since 2014. Like, Jacksonville finds ways to beat the Colts. So
I'm taking Jacksonville as well, Guy.
Yeah, I'm taking the Jags too. I think, sometimes teams have your number, like Jacksonville at home against the Colts. The Colts have been sputtering lately. I know partly due to injury, but, Taylor has fell off a little bit. I think
you lose Sauce. I forgot he lost Sauce this week too.
Oh yeah,
he was they were saying he almost tore his Achilles because the way he looked back, but he came out in a full-blown boot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's not good.
And the Colts know, psychologically they were on top of the AFC for a little bit, and now they're in a must-win game. Right, this is must-win territory for them. They don't win this game, they are in a lot of trouble.
And was Tyler Warren sick this week as well? Like, wasn't he had some illness or something like that?
Yeah, because you know what? Me and Guy talked about it too. Like, I think, and we talked about it last week, the Colts have the hardest schedule left in the NFL. That was including last week's game, which they lost, which I thought they'd lose. And they play at Jacksonville. Then guess where they have to play the following week? They have to go to Seattle and play Seattle the following week. Then they play the Niners at home. But again, the Niners are a fantastic team. Then you play the Jaguars, and then you finish the season in Houston. Like, all playoff teams. They have to play all playoff teams, and I can honestly see them losing every single game the rest of the year. It wouldn't like be a shocker. I mean, it would like be a shocker to a lot of people, but like it wouldn't, considering like the difficulty of schedule for the rest of the year.
And I mean, I don't wish injury on anybody, but the Jets fans this weekend were having a field day when Sauce got hurt, and then A.D. Mitchell went over 100 yards for the game. They were like, "Oh, we won the trade." We'll see how that shakes out in a couple of years. All right, Pittsburgh at the Ravens. Baltimore by 6.
Another fraud off.
Yeah, this game, could go in a lot of different directions, but it's, Steelers Ravens, right? It's going to be close somehow, but I think the Ravens are the better team. They'll find a way to win this game, but if the Steelers win, I wouldn't be surprised. But that 6 points is a little high for me in this game.
Sean?
Yeah, I think that the 6 points is a little high. This is such a hard game for me. I want to say, like, I think Pittsburgh wins just because I think that the Ravens are so bad. I mean, Lamar, since that injury, has looked horrible. He has not – he's again, it's not the same thing, but it's like the RG3 thing where, like, he just significantly got worse, like, every year. And not to say Lamar's, like, gotten significantly worse, but he does not look even, like, 50% of his old self currently. I mean, he can't get out of the pocket. He can't run, and I feel like when defenses don't have to respect that, you see what happens, Like, Derrick Henry's Derrick Henry. He's going to get his. I don't understand why they don't check down to Henry more. Like, he does a lot out of the backfield. He can catch the ball. I don't know why they don't utilize him more. It just seems very weird to me. Even in Tennessee, they didn't do that. But, like, every time Henry gets the ball, I feel like he's explosive. But this team, I feel like, needs, like, an offensive revamp. Their defense is fine, right? Like, they have a really good defense. But this game's going to be interesting because we'll talk about it in a little bit. But, like, if the Bengals end up beating the Bills this week, like, one of these teams has to win, right? Unless this game ties, and then that's a whole nother thing. But like the Bengals would still only be 2 games back from winning this division. Whoever wins this game. So this is another one of those divisions where like I could see a team being like 8-9 and getting into the playoffs.
Right. And I'm actually going to take the Steelers on this one. All right. Another fantastic matchup. My goodness, we're in for a real treat on Sunday. We got the Tennessee Titans at the Cleveland Browns. Boy.
Thank God they're all 1:00 games.
Yeah.
Literally.
Thank God.
Because that Cleveland defense probably going to eat. We'll see what we can get at the banner. But on FanDuel, spread Browns by 3.5. Over-under is 33.5.
Honestly, like the under probably hits this game. You know what? I will say the over probably hits just because like both of these teams have shown that they can like put up points randomly. I think the Browns defense is significantly better. Like I think they're a top 5 defense in the league, minus their offense being absolutely porous. Like, and Sanders has not looked great, but like he at least can throw the ball down the field. And then you got Quinshon Judkins who can move the ball. I don't know if Sampson's healthy, but Sampson's been like phenomenal receiving back out of the backfield with explosive speed. But I feel like 33, like I know both of these teams suck, but like do we
That's
not
really low.
17 points somehow? Miles over 2.5. I think Miles might break the record this game. And I'm not exaggerating that either. Like who's gonna stop him on that offensive line? And Cam Ward's not outrunning Myles Garrett. And Cam Ward, I'm not saying he's a low IQ quarterback, but he's not he doesn't throw the ball away much. So I could see him having like a 4-sack game.
Guy?
Yeah, I got the Browns in this game. They're just the better team, and their defense is going to cause some things to happen. I can see a defensive touchdown here.
Yeah, and I'm going Cleveland as well. All righty. Cincinnati Bengals at the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo by 5.5.
This is probably the best 1:00 game.
53.5.
Yeah, this should be another game. Both these defenses suck balls, quite frankly.
Well, and the Bills just picked up Slay, didn't they?
Yeah,
Claim
he's
him.
probably not
Yeah,
going to play this week. But
I
I will say
They're
I will
doing
give
anything.
credit. I will give credit to Cincy's defense. They've looked better over the last few weeks. They're not like a top 20 defense by any means, but they've looked better. Feels like one of those games where like since he's got all their weapons, right? I don't know if T. Higgins, I think he practiced it like limited, right? I don't know if he's going to be back this week, but Jamar Chase and Chase Brown are great. Joe Burrow looked decent in his first game back. But Josh Allen looked horrible last week. I could see Josh Allen going for like 5 touchdowns, and then James Cook like being on the receiving end of like 1 or 2 of those plus rushing for another one. I could see both these teams putting up like this could be like a 38-41 kind of game. I think Buffalo wins, especially in Buffalo, but man, this is going to be a powerhouse game.
Guy?
Yeah, this is a very interesting game, right? Because the Bengals a couple weeks ago may have not thought that they have a shot at the division, but this is one of those games where opportunity is right there. And the Bills aren't world beaters on defense. If the Bengals offense shows up like we know they can, I think they could give the Bills a lot of problems. And I'm actually leaning towards the Bengals winning this game, finding a way to win, and making things interesting in the AFC North.
I'm going to go with Buffalo, and it looks like there might be some snow on Sunday too.
Yeah.
All righty. Denver Broncos at the Raiders. 7.5.
I got Denver by 1. And I don't, it's hard. Like, I would love to know actually what Denver's record against the spread is this year. I'm going to look that up. You guys can talk about this game. I got to look this up before.
Well, let me pose just a random question to you. So for fantasy, I have Broncos defense. I also have the Browns defense. Who are you starting this week? I know I'm going.
I think if you're going like weapons wise, you start the Browns defense simply because you're still going against Brock Bowers, Ashton Genty, right? So like there's still some weapons there, and it's a divisional game, as Cricket said. So like they're always going to be closer. I have Denver's defense. I've been riding them all year. I'm going to play them again.
Same.
I can see them putting up 16, 17 points, picking off, Geno 2 or 3 times. I could see a game like that. But like, a lot of the value in fantasy is total yards, points, and sacks, right? Like those are the 3 kind of metrics that you want to look at. And if you go look at the spread and the over under for that Tennessee game, it's 33 points, right? So there's not a lot of points that are going to be put up. I don't see Tennessee moving the ball very well. And I can see Myles Garrett getting like 3 or 4 sacks, right? So that baseline right there, you're already looking at like 15 points, 16 points. So
right.
I think the safer floor is probably the Browns, whereas like the ceiling is probably Denver just because of the more talented overall defense. So it's kind of like a pick your poison.
Well, and if I was looking, because I've been rocking with Denver's defense all year, and the only reason I picked up the Browns was simply because they were on the bye the 1 week. And I think the first time, because remind me, I think the Raiders have already played the Broncos before. And if I'm looking correctly, I think they got me like 17 points that week.
Yeah. But I think Bowers was hurt that week too. So that's like the caveat, right? So it's just hard because you kind of have to look at like the weapons and like also the game script. I just don't see Tennessee putting up more than like 14 points, but we're going to sit here and say that, and they're going to go out there and put up 31 somehow.
Literally.
It's such a hard thing. Oh, I guess, you know what? Denver played the Raiders 3 weeks ago, actually. So Bowers did play, and it was a 10-7 game. That's why it was another low scoring game. That was the game that almost went to OT, I think it was, but
I am going to take the Raiders spread on this one just because I think at worst Broncos win by like a touchdown. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah. I don't think that the Raiders win this game, but it is the Broncos are 5-7 against the spread this year. And it just feels like every game is like a 3-point game with them. It's just they're such a weird team.
All right. Let's move on. Chicago Bears facing the Packers. Green Bay 6.5.
That was a game this week.
Oy.
Wow. Yeah. That's a good game.
Mm-hmm.
For going off of Green Bay at 6.5. Wow. Yeah, I'm slamming the Chicago.
Chicago covers.
I think Chicago wins this game. Like the Packers looked okay. Jordan Love threw 4 touchdowns last week. He didn't look impressive though. Like 3 of them were all within the 5-yard line. They couldn't get a run game going. I understand the Packers have a good defense. I understand they have Micah Parsons. I understand all of that, but I think that the Bears offense is significantly better than the Packers offense. And I know the Bears defense isn't great, but like Caleb doesn't turn the ball over much. And if he's protecting the ball and they can just drive down the field and score like 2 touchdowns and get like 2 field goals, I can see them winning this game. I think the Bears are the better team. I don't know. I'm picking the Bears.
Yeah, I'm picking the Bears as well. I think they find a way to win this game. I think the line is a little high for me. I do get that, I guess coming into the season, the Packers were some pundits like Super Bowl pick or at least to reach the Super Bowl game. And getting Micah Parsons definitely makes that defense better. But that offense is better than the Packers offense in Chicago. I mean, they take care of the ball a little bit, and I like their run game. I think you establish the run, you could break a will of a defense, and this is where that two-headed monster in Chicago is going to really pay in dividends. It's like a boxer that punches to the body, right? You don't see the results in the beginning of the fight, but towards the end of the game, you slowly wear down that defense by, running. So that's a great counter to a devastating pass rush, right? You run and you throw screens. I think that's what gets them through this game, and they win a close game.
Yeah. All right, we got 3 more games, including 2 primetime ones. So Rams at the Cardinals. Rams by 7.5. You guys already know I'll take the Cardinal spread.
Oh, come on.
You got to.
I'd
Sean?
love for the Cardinals to win this game. But,
Right.
I mean, I think the Rams are coming off a bounce-back week. This is another, again, I keep saying it. You got to beat the worst teams, right? I think the Rams got to come out here and make a statement. I don't think Marv plays this week. Obviously, I think the Rams are more talented. These divisional games are always tough. We all know that, but I think the Rams have to come out here and make a statement. It'd be awesome for me if the Cardinals somehow snuck a win. But unfortunately, I just don't see that happening. So I got the Rams. I feel like the Cardinals spread is safe, but I just feel like the Rams after that loss are just going to beat the piss out of them. So probably take the Rams spread, and the over probably hits because at least Brissett's slinging the ball. They're going to put up some points.
Guy?
Yeah, I think the Cardinals are going to run into a pissed off Rams team who didn't expect to lose last week, but that's the business in football sometimes. But yeah, to make a statement, the Rams got to come back in this game and win convincingly. If they win a close game, we're still going to be like, did you really bounce back? Or, because this could be a game where, they could go in there thinking, we got this. And that's never the right approach in a divisional game. But yeah, I think the Rams win by at least 10.
10. All right. Well, Sunday Night Football. Houston Texans at the Chiefs. KC by 3.5. I'm telling you right now, I'm going to take the Texans.
I am too. I'm on the same page as you.
They got a lot. They got a lot more on the line.
The Chiefs have more on the line because if the Chiefs lose this game, I read they have like a 8% chance. Or
they were done last week to me with their loss against the Cowboys. Not mathematically, but
not mathematically, and you can never count the Chiefs out. Obviously, if the Texans won this game, they'd lay that to rest, and I mean they'd make everybody's lives a lot easier. And the Texans kind of have to win this game to stay in that division. And honestly, top to bottom, the Texans look like the better team in general. Like their defense, you could say they're 1 in the league, you could say they're 2 in the league, back and forth with Seattle, but they're a top 2 defense in the league no matter how you cut it. And that O-line for the Chiefs is devastated. I think they're going to get pressure early and often, and this is going to be a real uncomfortable game for Kansas City and a lot of their fans.
Guy?
Yeah, I think this is a very interesting game because of all the implications that are here. I'm leaning towards the Texans as well. I think the biggest difference is that defense. We've seen the last couple of weeks what they've done to the quarterback. I think Mahomes is going to have a hard time. He's going to be pressured. So we're going to see if he rises to the occasion. I know after last week's loss and, on Thanksgiving, they were, complaining about the officiating, going against them, which is kind of funny. Because they've been the beneficiaries of a lot of calls over the years. But I think the Texans get it done. And, the Chiefs are put to bed and tucked in.
All righty. And last one, Monday Night Football. We have the Eagles heading over to the LA Chargers. Philly by 3. I'm going to go with the Eagles. Sean.
Trey Lance season, baby. I got the Chargers and Trey Lance going in there and beating the Eagles by 20. No, not really. Unfortunately, the Eagles win this game. The Chargers are just way too beat up. You get Lamar and Hampton back, don't have Justin Herbert. I think if they had Herbert, the Chargers win this game, but no Herbert. I mean, nobody's rolling out Trey Lance and feeling like they have a chance. Let's just be honest.
Right.
Yeah.
Guy?
Yeah, I got the Eagles in this game as well. I think they need to win this game, you know, for the very least for confidence purposes and, you know, for the stretch run. You know, it was, I don't know if you guys heard their offensive coordinator's house getting egged.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah,
I
so-
did not.
Yeah. He got
Yeah.
stones and eggs thrown at his house, yeah.
Yeah, so you know, if that doesn't motivate you, you know, I don't know what will. But I think they do bounce back and win this game. It's not going to be pretty though, but they'll find a way to win.
All righty. Well, exciting week of football coming up. Let's transition over to, well, first, let me say thank you all for joining us. Please like, subscribe, comment. We love putting your comments up on the screen. Happy to take any questions for the panel. But I want to move over to NBA. And before we kind of there's a lot of several topics with NBA. But I first want to shout out the Phoenix Suns for beating the Los Angeles Lakers the other day without Devin Booker, I might add. So very happy for them. So I want to start with, let's talk about Zion Williamson. Hurt yet again. I mean, tale as old as time.
Yeah.
Any thoughts?
I mean, it's here we go again, right?
Mm-hmm.
Zion getting hurt. At what point do you just turn the page if you're the Pelicans, right? Like maybe they should have done it a while ago, but I think this is just who he is. You know, he's definitely talented, but very injury prone. And I hope he's able to get healthy at some point so he could have a sustainable career, but he could very well go as one of the biggest what ifs in the NBA history, like a Brandon Roy or, you know, a healthy Grant Hill, right? Like what would these guys would have been? Danny Granger. It's like, what would, you know, a healthy Zion be, you know, given his talents? Because he could jump out of a gym. He's super athletic, but, you know, there's only so much a body could take where you have to develop other skills and maybe train a little bit differently.
Mm-hmm. Sean?
Yeah, Williams getting hurt is the equivalent to a free bingo spot. There was an article that came out about an hour ago, too, that said that the Pelicans are willing to take the first reasonable offer they get for Zion. So now they've come out and said they're willing to trade him away. I think they should have traded him last year. I think the problem is he went through that like period where he just looked so dominant. And you're like, oh, okay, this is the Zion that we're gonna get. This is a healthy Zion, and I don't think anyone's gonna argue the talent that Zion has. I think he's a top 20 player in the NBA if he's healthy. His shot selection is great. He's a high field goal percentage guy. He can rebound. He can get you the assists. He can score at an elite level. It's just always been a health thing with him, and it's not even a weight thing anymore because he looks like good, right? Like
Exactly.
He's not like overweight, and that's why he's getting hurt. It's just always something, and you know, I think another player that's going to be like that is Wemby, right? Can Wemby stay healthy? Because Wemby seems to be getting hurt frequently too, and a lot of these like younger guys, these genetic freaks, you know, it seems to be a recurring thing. You know, Zion to me is more like Derrick Rose, though, where like he saw what he could do, but his career will probably be cut short because he's just going to get injured too much.
I think we've talked about it on the show, these younger guys and the way that they train and they just can't stay healthy. I mean, look at Jalen Green. He has played one game for the Suns and he's been hurt ever since. I don't know why. That's why I never wanted him, to be honest. But yeah, you got to feel for Zion at some point in time too. He just, again, it's like an injury thing, but I hadn't seen that article, so I'm not surprised by it whatsoever. I am surprised a little at CP3 being dismissed from the Clippers, and I literally could not believe it. I watched a little bit of the press conference earlier today. So, I mean, Guy, I don't know how they did that to him. it's your vet. I do to some extent, but it just seemed a little unprofessional in my opinion. But Guy, go ahead.
Yeah, this is something that doesn't come as a surprise to me with the Clippers organization. They're kind of reverting back to the joke franchise that they used to be, with the whole Kawhi thing, and how that unfolded. And a guy like Chris Paul is a consummate professional. He deserves better than to be sent home, in the wee hours of the morning, on a Tuesday or a Wednesday morning. Like that's crazy. That I know Lawrence Frank, the president of basketball operations for the Clippers, was, basically said some BS, jargon like, yeah, we thought it was in our best interest that we part ways. But, I think a more professional thing to do would just, buy out his contract and just mutually part ways instead of going this route. It puts a bad stain on an already bad stain franchise where, image is everything. You're never going to be bigger than the Lakers in Los Angeles, but this is another reason why, in a lot of people's eyes, the Clippers are who they are. Things like this.
Well, and I was reading earlier today too, the relationship with Ty Lue seemed to be super strained. And from what I was reading, it looked like he requested a meeting to meet with him, and Ty Lue just absolutely refused. And then here we are a couple weeks later, and this happens. Sean, any thoughts?
I mean, you guys hit all the points. Yeah. I mean, they weren't on speaking terms. I think Chris Paul is a leader of men. And I don't feel like there's a lot of men over there in that camp, quite frankly. Ty Lue should have been the one that got fired personally. Ty Lue's going on this like Doc Rivers like career path almost. It's kind of weird. And I just don't know what the Clippers are doing. I mean, to me, let them keep fucking up. We own their pick. I'm more than happy for them to finish as the worst team in the league. I mean, as of right now, we own 3 lottery picks, and one of them possibly projected to be the 1 overall pick this year. So let them be trash. That trade is looking better for us every year that goes by. And that organization has just honestly, even since they had DeAndre Jordan, Blake Griffin, and CP3, they've I don't feel like they've ever like been able to get over that hump of being great, and it's just been like a bunch of poor decisions. So, yeah,
right.
I think Chris Paul deserves better. He can come finish his career in OKC if he wants. We can get him a ring before he goes out.
Well, he's not welcome back in Phoenix, I can tell you that much.
Yeah.
All right. And speaking of maybe not being happy with where they're at, the Giannis rumors have now started about
Giannis tore his Achilles possibly today. I don't know if any of y'all saw that.
Did that just come out?
It happened in the first quarter of the game tonight.
My
non-contact. He fell over. They said it's a strained hamstring, but it looked almost like the Kevin Durant injury where he was like trying to throw a pass in and then like started running and he just fell. So he could could not be, but it looked like a torn Achilles to me, which would not be good at all.
Well, not being good at all, especially because the trade rumors have just started and they were supposed to have a meeting about it, which we're not surprised here. These rumors were swirling around last year as well. So, Guy, any initial thoughts? I didn't know about the injury. That's crazy, and that would definitely hurt him.
Yeah, with their record this year, the Bucs have not played to their expectations. I didn't have high expectations for the Bucs this year, but I think Giannis wanted to wait and see how like the roster kind of like worked itself out. But man, if he's hurt, that puts a strain on, maybe one of these teams that are looking at Giannis to, go over the hump. I know the Knicks were a team that he wanted to go to. I don't know if they have the resources to pull that trade off, but, I know the Knicks would definitely welcome a Giannis, especially in their position. There was even rumors about the Spurs trying to make a trade, but I personally wouldn't want Giannis, even though I think he's great. I like the young team that we're building, you know what I'm saying? And I think you lose a lot of your resources by getting him. And I would rather invest it in other ways, but he is a game changer. That's for sure. Whoever gets him, it could swing the balance of power. I just hope that this doesn't come up with like how sometimes the script is written where he might go to like Golden State and they do some like Steph and Giannis kind of alliance and they end up winning the chip this year. I just hope something like that doesn't happen, but anything's possible in the NBA.
Sean?
Yeah, I mean, from what I've heard and understood, there's not going to be like a Giannis sweepstakes. They're gonna sit down with him, gonna ask him where he wants to go, and then they're gonna work a deal out with that team. There's not going to be like Giannis is on the trade block kind of thing. So like if he says he wants to go to the Knicks, they're gonna work out the best package they can. If he says he wants to go to the Spurs, they're gonna work out the best package they can. I mean, I personally, I wouldn't want Giannis, but like I feel like OKC has like one of the best packages. So they can just offer him a shitload of firsts. I mean, we got 3 lottery picks possibly this year alone. That Clippers first alone is worth a ton. But like the Spurs have like a really good offer. But like as a Spurs fan, do you want to trade Harper, Castle, and 2 firsts?
No.
I mean, so it's like, and then even as the Knicks, like you're gonna have to include Cat in that trade, right? So like there's a lot of, he's not cheap, but like if he says, hey, I want to go to the Knicks, and like from what I understand, I don't know how accurate or true it is. That's what he wants to do, and if they kind of work out a deal that isn't gonna like break the whole team, because I mean, here's the thing: if Giannis wants to go play for the Knicks, he doesn't want to go play for the Knicks that lost 5 good players or their whole future. So that'll be curious to see how that develops. It'll also be curious to see what this injury is, because if he did somehow tear his Achilles, I mean, that changes the whole scope of things. You're going into being 31, almost 32 at that point, off an Achilles injury, not 30 in an elite power forward / center, So we'll see.
One more to come on that. And let's go over to some MLB talk for a little because, Guy, I'm sure you have some thoughts on Devin Williams signing with the Mets. So, again, MLB Free Agency in full effect. Guy, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's all right. So my reaction to this is I have to wait and see what else happens, because I like this move if we also re-sign Edwin Diaz and you have a Williams Diaz setup closer situation. As a replacement for Diaz, though, if that's the case, I think that's taking a step back. So I like the signing if we do re-sign Diaz. I think Devin Williams, adjusted to New York last year. It was like one of those like getting adjusted to the market. And then towards the end of the year, he actually pitched a lot better than the beginning of the year. So we might be getting a better version of him. I know Stearns, our GM, had him in Milwaukee, and he's just getting one of his guys. And I think he thinks he could turn him around to the 2023 version, 2020. When he was an all-star in 23. I mean, he has elite stuff. So if he could figure it out, I think it's a great signing.
Pygmy
Sean, I know
is crazy, by the way. What the oh my god.
What?
Holy guacamole, bro. What in the hell?
Donnie boy, come on now.
That guy's off the papaya and the coquito, bro. Jesus.
He wants all the tamales.
Good Lord.
Jeez.
He's a different kind of tamale guy, Jeez.
Sean, I know you're a big baseball fan.
Yeah, I am. I think one of the signings that I'm really intrigued with is the Cody Ponce signed for the Blue Jays. You get Dylan Cease, and then you add Ponce, and he was elite in the KBO. Like, he wasn't good. He wasn't great. He was elite. Played for the Hanwha Eagles, 17-1. He had like 250 strikeouts to like 40 walks or like 30 walks or something with like a 1.7 ERA. The guy is good. And he played in the MLB before and then went over there and came back. But like, if you go watch his games, like, he's got some stuff. And that Blue Jays bullpen was already good. Now Dylan Cease was horrible. Like, not horrible. He was horrible this year. If you can get any sort of production out of him, and then you get you sign Ponce to like a 3 year, $30 million deal. That's nothing. You gave Cease 7 years, 210. So to contextualize that, it's significantly cheaper. So that was a really cool signing. I wasn't expecting him to sign to the Blue Jays, but I think the Blue Jays are doing a good job. They were just in the World Series. They're not really losing anybody big this year, and they're just adding to the depth that they can do. And then also like Anthony Kay coming back from Japan for a 2-year deal with the White Sox. He looked really good in Japan as well. So it's really cool to see some of these overseas guys coming back to play in the MLB. Pitchers, obviously, we know they can fizzle out quick. Like Cease didn't look great last year. Strider was an all-star, got hurt, and then came back and he didn't look good. So like, it's cool to see some of these talented guys coming over and like hopefully adding some depth to that, as well as like the minors. There's so many good young pitchers right now. I think we're in like for a treat for pitching next year in baseball.
More to come on free agency as a lot of topics heating up. Kyle Tucker, Kyle Schwarber.
So nothing big signings yet. I'm a little sad. I want to see something. I want to see like headlines. I think everyone thinks like where Tucker and Schwarber. Like, everyone thinks Tucker's going to end up in New York, right? Like, we all kind of think we know where people are going to sign, but like, it's going to be cool when the dominoes start falling. We can see how these teams are starting to get like structured and stuff. I can't wait for like the big names to really start signing.
Mm-hmm. The winter meeting's coming soon, so
yeah,
I might be waiting for that.
Now, before we get into our rants, I kind of want to talk about one more topic with you guys, because we were talking a little bit about college football, and obviously Lane Kiffin on the move, going to LSU. And I was talking a little bit about with my coworkers about it earlier today. I want to know your guys' thoughts on, like, should coaches be allowed to move mid-season? Quite frankly, like, Ole Miss is essentially, they're like, what, 11-1? Some crazy thing. They're going to probably be in the playoff. And this move was absolutely huge. So, Sean, it seemed like you had initial thoughts right away. So I'm going to start with you.
Yeah, this is like the second time this has happened in the last 2 years too. Like a playoff team coach or like a high level coach like signed while I don't remember who the last coach was, and I'm not gonna say it like willy-nilly because I don't know, but it was a playoff team and he signed but then coached his team still. And it's like, how do you get guys to get behind you? And like, I mean, Ole Miss is gonna be in the playoffs.
Right.
And now he just left. I'm not saying Lane Kiffin could have been a big part of the success or not a big part, right? But we would all assume he's been a big part of the success, right? They play in the SEC, which is not an easy conference to play in. That is outrageous to me. I mean, you have a contract for a reason. What are you going to go start doing at LSU now? That matters when you have a team that's on the precipice of, being a playoff team and competing and contending for a championship. I find that weird. And then, obviously the backlash is the backlash regardless, but they had a ton of players decommit, right? So now you lose your, like, a good portion of your recruiting class. That's going to be like an avalanche effect of the coach leaving regardless. And I guess, like, sure, in a sense, like, you lose them now instead of like after they sign, like when they verbally committed. But the ripple effect is a lot bigger than people think. Like that locker room, you lose your head coach presence. We don't know what the vibe in the locker room is, right? But I'm assuming the vibe was high. You're 11-1 team. It just shouldn't be a thing. You shouldn't even be allowed to talk to a coach until they either play their bowl game or they're eliminated from bowl game contention. If they were in a bowl game team, I don't give a shit. Like, go off and do your thing. But if you're not a bowl game team, you're probably not getting signed to LSU, right? One of the most prestigious schools in the nation. It's just a really bad look. And honestly, like the NIL things already put like a bad taste in my mouth as far as like, like the players transferring, go and get the most money they can. Like I get it, go get your money. But like the consistency and like the flatline level of like equality now is not there anymore. And there's not like, and that's why it's so hard to gauge a lot of the college prospects, right? Because you're going to have guys that transfer schools and, now there's rumors of Ryan Williams unhappy in Alabama and he might go to LSU, right? Like it's just all kinds of shit. And leave it for the offseason. Now this is a distraction for a team that has championship aspirations.
Literally. I think, Sean, you said it perfectly. It's like making this not fun to watch anymore. Again, NIL is already taken a big hit because of NIL, and this just makes it even more. It's pissing me off, and it's not right. And you have players that come and want to play for you, and you coach them up all this time. You made a commitment to them, all to leave them. Like there's no loyalty, and I get it. Whatever, LSU's the better program. It's probably a dream job for some people, but at this point, what are you really gonna do for them at this point in the season? Season's over. You know what I mean? So, guys,
doesn't make sense.
Yeah, we're just seeing what the byproducts of money coming into the equation does for something, right? Like on the surface, like freely moving from one job to another, in other aspects is like a good thing, but in this instance, it's like kind of like a conflict of interest, kind of like you're at least finish your job first and then move on and turn the page. You're still not done with your season yet with your old team. It just looks, it's a very bad look. It's a very bad look on college football, for them to allow this to happen. And the professional sports, they wouldn't really, they would call this tampering or call this something else, right? So like
literally,
why is it okay in this instance? There should be like a moratorium or something like that where you have to be eliminated, like Sean said, where now you're free to negotiate or move. But like, man, I just feel bad for the kids that committed and because of him, and now their plans have to change.
Well, it sucks too, right? Because
go ahead.
Not to cut you off, I'm sorry, but like Ole Miss is a great program now, right? Sure, I'm sure Lane Kiffin brought in a lot of these, recruits, freshmen, sophomores, whatever they are. How many of those leave now because he's gone? So does Ole Miss go from being a playoff / possible championship team? We don't know, how far they'll go, right? But do they go from that level to back to being like a 5-7 team now because now you lost your entire pipeline? It's just, there's, like I said, there's such a high amount of ripples that come from a choice like this. And then it looks like the program isn't competent because they just let their coach walk in the middle of the season. You know what I mean? Or in the middle of like one of their biggest things. I don't know.
Well, and you wonder how, obviously we have like the conference championships coming up, but you wonder how this is going to take into effect in terms of where they're going to end up being ranked as well. So,
well, yeah, because just like FSU didn't make it in that one year because their quarterback got hurt, right?
Exactly.
Does Ole Miss's seed drop now because they lost their head coach? Their record might be great, but now they don't have their head coach. That's an argument that the committee can make. They're not going to drop out of the playoff. You're not taking an 11-1 team out of the playoffs, right? Not in the SEC. That's never going to happen. But they could go from being, a 5 or a 6, because Oregon's the 5 seed, like a 6 or 7 seed, whatever they are, So maybe you put them at the 10 seed now, but then now guess what? Now you're fucking the better seeds, right? Because now they got to play a more talented team for no reason because you think that they're not going to be as good because their head coach isn't there. So there's a lot of like issues with it going into the point of time that we're talking now.
Mm-hmm. Well, and again, it doesn't happen at the professional level, so I don't know why it's happening at this level. Before we get into our rants, Johnny Boy has a question for Sean. Doesn't heavy sweater look way better than guys' mahi colors?
Hey, what do you say? Squish the fish? Squish the fish.
Fuck the fins. Squish the fish.
Oh, jeez. Guy's going to go put on his scuba gear real fast. Hold on. Give him a second.
Oh, man. I just can't wait till next week when we win. I want all this same energy from all you Jets fans.
I have the same energy all year round. People were mocking me because I was celebrating a win, and then people were mocking me because I was celebrating the special teams unit. So I'm like, bring it.
All right.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get into our rants and wrap this up. Again, appreciate you all joining us. I want to address Johnny Boy's comment really quickly. He said, draft the kicker from Arizona. Look what Folk is doing. Medina Salgado for the Arizona Wildcats missed like 4 field goals on Friday, my good friend. And unfortunately, the Jets missed out on Tyler Loop as he's with the Baltimore Ravens. So not going to recommend that whatsoever.
Yeah.
All right. But we appreciate you joining us. Please like and subscribe to the Pop Sports Network on all the social media platforms. So, Guy, we'll start with you and your rant.
Yeah. I don't know if this would be considered a rant, but Friday at 12 Eastern time, we're going to have the World Cup draw. This is where everybody knows at least the groups they're in and when they play. I know most of the world is going to be watching this. There's a lot of pomp and circumstance that goes into this. It's an actual event where they draw, the names out of like almost like the lottery balls, and they take the names out, and whoever you're supporting, you like to see who you're matching up, and or if you're going to the games and you're planning on following your team, you're looking to see what hotels or what cities you're going to be in. So this is an exciting time. World Cup is couple months away, 6-7 months away. So man, this is just going to kick off what's going to be a crazy year out here. So I'm looking forward to see who plays who. And, if there's a group of death, which means the hardest group, and, see what Team USA, who they draw and stuff. It's very interesting, very exciting. And a soccer fan like me, this is a pretty cool experience.
Love that. Sean.
You want to know what's hilarious is my rant was going to be about Lane Kiffin. And that's why I was so passionate about it, because that's what I wanted to talk about. But something else that I've been thinking about lately is the amount of injuries that are happening in sports nowadays. I really feel like it should be on the teams to provide a level of, and I know they spend a ton of money on the players for their health and the workout rooms and everything. Like how sports psychiatrists became more popular, and these little niche things started becoming more popular in sports because these players started needing it, right? Something within the bodily structure and health and care, that needs to be focused on. There's too many guys, and like I said, like Wemby, Zion, Devin Booker just got hurt. Curry's older, but he's hurt now. A lot. And then, you transition into other sports, like in football, a lot of these players just seem to be getting, and I know football is a violent sport, so it's a very hard comparison, but a lot of these non-contact injuries seem to be a lot more common than I feel like they ever were before, like the Giannis injury today. If he tore his Achilles, Dame tore his Achilles last year. You know, like there's just so many injuries to where I'm like, these, like, they need to invest more in the players, the amount that they're paying them, especially because this bubble has not bursted yet, and they're paying these players hundreds of millions of dollars. And essentially these players are getting hurt so early in their contracts that they don't become worth it. Not all of them, right? But a lot of them. And just something needs to be done somewhere along the lines to like either help it. I don't know how you help it, or like address it or identify what the issue is. I know like a lot of like the genetic freaks are more and more, right? Like they're happening earlier and often nowadays. So I wonder if it's more of like a byproduct of like, we saw Zion at like 16 in high school being the athlete he was now. There's not a lot of the late bloomers anymore. It's a lot of these kids are just freaks, and they're freaks at like 10 years old, right? So I'm wondering if that's what it is, and they're putting the stress on their bodies from a young age. But like, even in like Europe, like their workout regimes are insane. They'll be in the gym for like 10 hours. Wemby, he'll be the first player on the court and the last player off the court. So like there has to be a medical reason though. And I would just love to know the science behind it.
Dren, can you put up Johnny Boy's comment again?
Let me ask you about the fact that Burrow wanted to come back so quickly. I mean, here's my thing, and my thing with Burrow is the same exact thing it is with Jackson Dart, right? The only circumstance different is the Giants don't have a chance to win the division, and genuinely the Bengals do. If you have a franchise player, like I would love to know the odds of the Bengals getting in, right? If it's like 10%, is it worth risking Burrow getting another injury? He's already been injury prone, right? Like he's gotten hurt multiple years. It's the same thing with Jack. Like, why is Jack, like, look at the monster hit Jackson Dart took, because he's just so, and he went on a press conference and said, hey, that's just the player I am. You need to change it. Burrow doesn't need to be playing, in my opinion, with them not having a chance, but it's like you're paying the guy $500 million or whatever the hell they're paying him, right? Like some ridiculous amount. So you're not just going to let him sit on the bench if he can play football, if there's a chance that you win the division. So like, do I think he should have came back? Probably not. But I also, there's a reason I'm not a general manager for an NFL team, right? It makes sense why he's back. But at the end of the day, these young guys, man, they're not the way that they play. Again, a lot of these NFL quarterbacks, they play to run through you, right? Like they're not playing to take a sack anymore. They're playing to escape the pocket. They're going to get leveled. That's just how it is. So really, like, I think the Bengals did the right thing from a business point of view and like from like an opportunistic point of view, because that whole division sucks balls. But I don't know. I would have rested him personally.
Guy, do you have any thoughts on Joe Burrow?
Yeah, I mean, look, when you're the Bengals and you haven't really done anything historically, and you have a quarterback of his talent, like I know, like that's definitely a determining factor. You want to give your fans something to believe in and get behind, and sometimes that does sacrifice the health of your star. Unfortunately, this is like that fine line that you toe when you're in management, and do you save the player from himself who doesn't necessarily think in terms of injury. Like if they play hard, that's how they play, and they're always going to be a risk, but at some point the ones that last the longest make adjustments, and you can't play a certain way all the time. It's like a power pitcher having to learn how to pitch later in his career. If you want to extend your career, you're going to have to play a little bit different and not take the hits that you do. And, Joe Burrow is just a guy that's played with a bad offensive line and just been getting hit for years. And he deserves better than that. But, the competitor in him is not going to just want to sit down and, sit in the sidelines. It's not who he is.
Yeah.
It's not
And
gonna get better for him either, though. Because
right.
like that's my other thing too, right? I guess that could be a whole nother rant. I won't get into it explicitly, but like the amount of money that these players are taking does not set their teams up for success. Brady didn't take the max amount of contract he could for years, and look how much success he had because they got to build a team around him. The amount of money that T. Higgins, Joe Burrow, and Jamar Chase are getting paid, that team will never be a good all-around team unless they draft and hit every single player in the draft. That is another issue with what occurs on a lot of these teams and why they become almost poverty franchises. And you can't keep your star player on the field when you can't protect your star player because you're paying so much to 3 players.
Mm-hmm. Guy, I want to ask you just a question because we brought up Joe Burrow and whatnot, and Johnny Boy mentioned, the organization saving the player from themselves. Do you in general think the Miami Dolphins have done a decent job or a good job at protecting, if that's the right word, Tua?
I mean, I think in part, I think they've let Tua control his own fate, not really for the better of his personal life. I know that they did sit down with him and really try to map out, like, look, these are the risks. And that's really all you could do, right? Because like you invested all this in a player, like money and time. Tua was very adamant that he wanted to go out there and play still. Again, like these guys from a young age are born with this competitive spirit where they want to prove it out there. This is like pretty much all you know how to do. And you've been preparing your whole life for this, to finally be in that position. It's hard to relinquish that once you're there. So that's the mental game that you play with yourself, right? It's always you versus you. Always, not just you versus the other team, but how do you play in a way that is safe for you? Because at the end of the day, you're in control of your own safety, right? The offensive line and everybody else could do their job, but you have to also do your job and protect yourself at all times, which means sliding, getting out of bounds, or throwing the ball away if you have to, holding on to the ball or looking like a deer in the headlights. That cumulative effect of getting concussions definitely wears on your processing for your brain. So, he might not be in the right mental state to make these decisions. So I think if he does have one more big injury, he's going to have to really consider stepping away from the game.
Yeah. All righty. Well, I will wrap us up with my rant for the day, and then we can let you guys out of here. Another good show. I love how entertaining. And thank you guys for being here with us tonight. Johnny Boy, we always love having you. We love the comments. So before I get into my rant, I want to provide a little bit of context, okay? My brother and I are the only 2 people out of our family that went to the University of Arizona, okay? And the amount of shit talking that I have endured all year from Arizona State fans has been ridiculous. Even my own man was doing it all year. All right. And I didn't say anything because I was like, you know what? I'm just going to stay quiet and wait till the week of. I watched every single Arizona football game. And let me tell you one thing. Brent Brennan, I was very harsh on him coming into the season. And you know what? He's owed an apology from me because what he has done with that team, taking them from a 4-8 team to 9-3, is absolutely insane. Danny Gonzalez, what he has done as the defensive coordinator for the Arizona Wildcats, it is also insane, and they deserve all the credit. Yeah, they do, and they're ranked 18. Don't ever get that twisted. And stop acting like the Big 12. You ruined my whole little speech. But don't stop acting like you ain't got like 3 Big 12 teams up in that college football playoff either. Stop hating, all right? Everyone hating on the Big 12 all the time. Yeah, Johnny Boy. Anyways, so here's how my weekend went. Arizona Wildcats take on Arizona State Friday night. Whoop them 23-7. Let me tell you, it was an ugly win. I swear they were allergic to the red zone half the time. The kicker, again, missed 3 or 4 field goals. I get ASU had their backup QB in, and let me tell you, little Scattaboo there on his little wheelie chair was all over the stadium, and everyone's like, all for that stadium to be half empty pretty much at the end of the fourth quarter, and very quiet, I might add. And then U of A basketball comes and plays on Saturday. Again, Norfolk State, a nobody, but they got a tough, we've already beat 3 top 25 teams. I don't know what else we need to do. We got a tough matchup with Auburn coming up this Saturday. All right, so they get a dub. And then here comes Sunday. Game-winning field goal for the New York Jets is no other than Nick Folk. And where did he go? The University of Arizona. The University of Arizona men's basketball, women's basketball, and football team were perfect in November. So with that being said, bear down Arizona. All righty, you guys. That is our show. That is how we're going to end it. Appreciate you all joining us. Please like and subscribe to the Pop Sports Network on every single social media platform, YouTube, Twitter, you name it. And we will see you next Wednesday, 9:30 Eastern. Bye.